Welcome to the World of Rare Disease, a show that focuses on awareness and education about rare and complex disorders. I am Lisa Deck, a patient, an advocate, and a committee member for Rare New England, and your host for today's show. Today our show features Tara Hayes, the Family Voices Program Coordinator at the Rhode Island Parent Information Network, also referred to as RIPIN. Today's show will discuss how Tara became involved with Family Voices as a caregiver to her young son, and educate our viewers about Family Voices. Welcome to the show, Tara.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. Can we start talking about one of your favorite topics, your son, Andrew?
Sure. So Andrew came into this world a little over 11 years ago, about 11 and a half years ago. And prior to that, I taught special education. And throughout my pregnancy, we had found out that Andrew was going to have some challenges. So we were pretty proactive. We toured the NICU, we met with doctors, we did our research, and Andrew was born 5 weeks early via emergency C-section. And I saw him very briefly, and then he was whisked away to the NICU, and that is where he spent the next 3.5 months of his life. And so therefore that's where I spent the next 3.5 months of my life. So it was really challenging to become a mom for the first time and not be able to take your baby home. And being in the NICU was totally different than being in a special education setting. So I was learning very quickly about how to navigate medical lingo, medical jargon, deal with medical teams who didn't always see me as, a key member of the team. We really created sort of a culture shift for the NICU folks because we insisted that they had monthly teams that switched off. So we insisted that the prior team would meet with the new team and the family before, the transition happened. Andrew had a lot of complications, a lot of issues. He didn't breathe on his own. He didn't really have much muscle tone. He didn't move very much. So he was intubated. He, was fed via G-tube, nasal cannula at first, and then he went in for surgery at 6 weeks old, had a tracheostomy, got a G-tube done, a couple other things, and that's how he came home with us on May 19th of 2008. And along our journey, we've faced some challenges. We had one significant setback, which was pretty traumatic. We faced possibly losing him, but somehow, some way, he was resilient and he pulled through. And we just, kept on fighting the good fight and, doing our best to make sure that he was cared for and taken care of and loved and comfortable and happy. And, fast forward to today. He's 11 years old, he's in 5th grade, he's at summer school today with his nurse, and doing really well. He uses an eye gaze device to communicate because he still has the trach, is on a ventilator 24/7. So the eye gaze device is really beneficial. He has his own, facial communication skills that we've adapted to and have learned to navigate. And we're just really proud of him and everything he's done. And everything he's made me has been really inspirational. I mean, because of him, I got one of the 2018 Caregiver of the Year awards. So, he means a lot. He's just my number one. That's what I always call him, my number one son.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is just, I heard this before, but what a journey and what a challenge. And yet here you are 11 years later, still fighting that good fight. And it sounds like he is just a marvelous young man that, has gone through so much, but yet is here and being a part of your life and everybody's lives.
And he does have a rare disease. He's undiagnosed. We've never seen anybody else like him. So, we've explored options for genetic testing, but because it's so rare, how much do you want to put him through, to get a diagnosis that may or may not lead you? We always have just looked at him and said, he's going to show us what he's going to do. And that's what's going to guide his care and his life. And, as long as we're just along for the ride.
Wow, that's a very interesting perspective, and I love it. I think it's a beautiful way to look at that. And do you think being a special education teacher helped you with that perspective and helped you even that first few days when you're in the hospital and trying to navigate, you've had some experience with children like this, so you do have a little bit more than some parents who go in naively?
Yes. So, and I was very fortunate to grow up in a household where my mother worked with special needs children my whole life. She's the head coach of a Special Olympics team, the Warwick Superstars, and so I've coached the team along the years, and I've been very closely involved with working with a number of children with a number of disabilities, and so I don't think it was as scary for me because of that. And I think my educational background kind of led me to want to jump right in and learn how to do everything right away in order to take care of my son. So definitely it was beneficial to have my mom by my side the whole time and to have grown up, like I did, where we accepted everybody.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great perspective from a caregiver, because I think so many caregivers find themselves in the situation of, oh my gosh, here I am, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And I think having that proactive approach probably was very helpful for you, the family, and your son. So
Right.
It's interesting to hear that. So that leads us into Family Voices. And can you tell us a little bit about how being a caregiver led to your current job?
Yeah, so when Andrew was transitioning out of early intervention and going to school, I really wanted to get back into the workforce, and I looked at a couple of, simple mom hour jobs, and a friend of the family who was looking at my application said, I think there's something better for her, and they gave me an application for RIPIN, and it was actually for a parent consultant early intervention position, and I was called for the interview, but I met with the director of Family Voices instead, and she said, well, we were looking at your resume, and we decided that we thought this might be a better position for you. If that's not what you think, let us know. But after the first interview, I was like, this is where I want to be. They have the mission, they have the vision, they have people who have been through it, and I needed to really feel like I'm doing something that's meaningful. To go from being a teacher to maybe working at a bank or a sandwich shop or something. I mean, it would pay the bills, but it just had to be meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, here you are 11 years later, still doing it. So can you tell us a little bit about Family Voices?
Absolutely. So Family Voices is a national organization. They're run out of the National Center of Family Professional Partnerships, which is a government grant-funded program. And they are also associated with the family-to-family health information centers of the states. So there's one of those in each state as well. So the Health Resource and Service Administration contracts one in each state to be the family-to-family health information center. And Family Voices provides us with the national TA to give us support in how to run the program. And we can kind of develop our own mission and goals based on what RIPIN's missions and goals are, where it really aligns. And so what Family Voices does is we provide resources, education, and peer-to-peer support for families. So we will do trainings at our location as well as throughout the community. We host a monthly peer support group for families with children with any kind of special need to come and attend. And we also provide some advocacy for families. So if we are looking at some different kinds of legislation that are coming up in the State House, and we may need to gather some families and some testimony, we will do that. We'll also provide written comments on rules and regulations. But we're really doing what needs to be done for the families at the grassroots level to engage them, get them involved, and give them the skills so that they're empowered enough to do this advocacy and create a better life for their families.
Right, and it seems when you first started, I think it was the having meaning attracted you to the job. Was there anything else that you felt really strongly about?
So RIPIN as an organization was very open to hiring families with children with special needs, and they understood that with that came the fact that families might need to miss a day of work because their child's not feeling good more frequently than other families. We have nursing in the house. If my nurse calls out, I'm home. And they've been flexible enough to accommodate those things, but also to really look at my skill set and help me to grow in this world of advocacy and helping other families. And it's definitely been a good learning experience and somewhere where I can see being for many, many years.
Right. What is your favorite thing about your job?
My favorite thing about my job, I think, is the passion that it takes to really get up every day and do this, because as somebody was saying yesterday, they really marvel at the fact that parents get up every morning, get their kids ready, get themselves ready, get them off to work, and then when they leave work, they're not just going home, they're going home to do it all over again, to do the same thing that they've kind of been doing all day, navigate the systems, take care of other people, and be a caregiver. And so I think the fact that I'm not alone in the world, like many others at RIPIN have children with special needs, or they're caregivers to others with special needs, and knowing that everybody else can wake up and show up, makes me feel more comfortable and more confident in my role, knowing that I can provide support to families, but I also have another network around me that can also provide support to families.
That's great to have. I mean, that's a great perspective to have too, that you're helping others while others are helping you, and
yeah.
It's kind of a cycle that exists.
Right.
So resources, I know you touched upon them, but can you talk a little bit more about the resources available through Family Voices?
Yeah, so we have a RIPIN Family Voices resource guide, which is called Connecting the Dots, and it helps families to connect the dots between services and systems that they may be able to access when their child has a special health care need. So it goes from birth and early intervention and home visiting programs through educational programs to community-based programs and transitional supports, as well as it has a piece of opportunities for families to engage in, like advocacy opportunities or chances to engage with the public.
Right. Now, how would somebody go about getting that guide if they were interested?
So that guide and our support group guide, Making Connections, are both on the RIPIN website at www.ripin.org.
Okay.
And if they access it on the online version, there's live links that they
Okay.
can click on, but we also have a paper version that people can call and we can mail to them if they'd like.
Wonderful. So that's great that if people want to get that information, there is a very easy way to do that. And that's at no cost, correct?
At no cost. Everything we
Wonderful.
do is at no cost to families,
Right.
our workshops, all that stuff.
We are thrilled to know about Family Voices. I understand there's also Family Voices in different states.
Yes. So every state has a Family Voices. You can go to familyvoices.org to check that out and click on the state on the map. But if people are looking for help in another state, they can also always call RIPIN and we can guide them towards that.
Wonderful. So this was excellent information. Thank you so much for being here. It's really great to provide this information to our viewers. And I also think it's awesome to have a caregiver perspective, because I think it's never just the patient. It's always the caregiver and the
Right.
family. So thank you for bringing that perspective to us.
You're very welcome.
So that is our show today. Before closing, we provide our viewers with an opportunity to share comments or ask questions from our prior shows. Rare New England in Motion is the perfect way to expand upon our mission of engaging with our community. You are welcome to share comments and questions to info@rarenewengland.org. We can share responses on our next show. We recently received a remark and a question from a viewer. She asks, "I'd love to share my rare disease story. Do you know of any possibilities for me to talk with doctors?" This is a great question. As Dr. Mark Corson mentioned in his show, teaching medical professionals about rare disease can feel empowering for patients. RNE is always looking for patients willing to share their stories at events, legislative meetings, and through our Rare Disease Speaker Series. You can reach out to us via email to share your interest with us. We thank you for your inquiry. That wraps up our show for today. From all of us at Rare New England and all the patients and families who keep rare disease in motion, thank you for watching. And remember, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, then think zebras. Thank you.